Today, we're diving into what is, really, a masterclass in modern narrative warfare. We're going to look at how an official story can just completely fall apart when faced with hard evidence, and then how it could strategically put back together.
So after months of just complete denial, we get this, just a stunning admission from Pakistan's foreign minister. He's on the record confirming a massive Indian drone attack. But, and this is the key part, he immediately spins it as this unbelievable defensive victory.
So what on earth changed? For months, the official line was total denial. What gives? Let's really get into this and unpack how the story went from nope, never happened, to yeah, it happened, but we basically stopped all of it. It tells us so much about the fight for what's real in this digital age.
Okay, so to really get why this admission is such a big deal, we've got to rewind a bit. We need to go back to the military conflict that kicked this whole thing off. So it all starts back in April with a really deadly terrorist attack. And in response, India launches something called Operation Sindoor. Now this was a fast, super intense 4-day operation, and it really marked one of the most serious flare-ups between the two countries in decades.
Right after the conflict wrapped up, the story coming out of Pakistan's government was, let's just say, completely different from what they're saying now.
And look, this wasn't just some mistake or miscommunication. It's actually a known military tactic. It's got a name: absolute denial policy. The whole idea is that a country just refuses to admit any real damage or losses, no matter what the evidence shows. It's all about controlling the public narrative and keeping morale up.
And that is exactly what we saw play out. The first official story from Pakistan was crystal clear. Their military bases were totally untouched. They claimed the Indian strikes only hit civilian areas, trying to downplay any real military impact. But that official story started to fall apart almost right away. And it's all thanks to the very technology that makes it so hard for anyone to control information these days. And this is where the official story hit a massive wall. You had this undeniable contradiction, right? The government is saying no military bases were hit, but at the same time, satellite images that anyone could see online were telling a totally different story. You could literally see the damage. It wasn't just satellites, the eyes in the sky. It was also people on the ground. We started seeing videos popping up everywhere, filmed by Pakistani citizens themselves. They were flooding social media. They were capturing the attacks on military bases as they happened, in real time. And when you have that, well, it makes the official denial almost impossible to stick with.
And then, for just a minute, the truth actually slipped out from an official source. There was this video, which, by the way, was super quickly taken down and scrubbed from the internet, where Pakistan's own military spokesperson admits that, yes, missile strikes did hit Nur Khan and 2 other air bases.
So what do you do when you're faced with this mountain of evidence? You've got satellites, you've got your own citizens, you even have your own officials leaking the truth. Well, the story had to change. And this is the point where they started building a whole new narrative from the ground up.
And this brings us to their new strategy. Okay, you can't deny the attack happened anymore, right? So what do? You admit a tiny piece of it, but you frame it as proof of your own amazing strength. You turn it into this story of an overwhelming defensive victory.
You can actually see the evolution of the story laid out right here. It's pretty clear. It starts with "it never happened." Then it moves into this period of strategic silence, where they just scrub all the conflicting reports. And finally, it ends with this new, partial admission that's cleverly framed as a near-total success. And really, this is the textbook definition of creating an official narrative. The goal isn't to tell the whole truth, not at all. It's to build a version of events that helps you politically, that lets you save face, and most importantly, that shapes how people are going to remember this thing for years to come.
But that still leaves a huge question hanging in the air, right? Why admit anything at all, even this little bit? And why now, all these months later? Well, the answer seems to lie outside of Pakistan, with some very powerful global players who have a stake in all this.
See, as this whole thing was going down, it wasn't just India and Pakistan watching. You had key allies, especially the US and Saudi Arabia, who were apparently watching very closely, and they were worried, concerned about the stability of the whole region, and about the real state of Pakistan's military.
And it makes sense because both of these countries really rely on Pakistan for their own strategic goals. Think about it. For Saudi Arabia, a beat-up Pakistani military isn't as useful as an ally. And for the US, Pakistan is still a critical piece on the geopolitical chessboard. That's reportedly why aid was sent to help fix the damage once things cooled down.
So this new story isn't just for the folks at home. It serves a huge international purpose. For these crucial allies, hearing that there was a minor incident that was handled really well, that's a much easier pill to swallow than sticking with a flat-out denial that everyone, thanks to satellite photos, knows is false. It's all about managing their image on the world stage.
All right, so let's put all the pieces together. What does this whole saga of changing stories really tell us about what conflict looks like in the 21st century?
I mean, what we've just watched is basically the playbook for modern narrative warfare unfolding in real time. Step 1, deny everything right out of the gate. Step 2, when the evidence starts piling up and makes that impossible, just go silent, scrub the record. And finally, step 3, come back with a brand new story that reframes the whole thing as a big win.
And all this leaves us with one last, and maybe the most important question. In an age where you have satellites watching from orbit and literally millions of citizens with cameras on the ground, can any government really control the story anymore? Or is the idea of a single official story pretty much losing its power for good?